The first gift shattered so loudly that the whole room went silent. It wasn't an accident. She lifted the next one, looked straight at me, and smashed it on the marble floor with a smile that felt colder than hate. And that was the exact moment my father stood up, and everything changed. Before we begin, if you believe that respect should never be mistaken for weakness, take a second to like this video. It really helps stories like mine reach more people who need to hear them. My name is Tara Fisher, and tonight I want to know something personal. Where are you listening from right now? Tell me in the comments, because what happened to me that night still feels unreal, even years later. I used to think humiliation had a sound. Not a scream. Not laughter. But the sharp, cracking sound of something breaking while everyone watches. It was my father's engagement dinner, a huge one, the kind with polished silverware, crystal chandeliers, and people who smiled without warmth. He had worked his entire life to get to that point, from a mechanic who slept in his workshop during winters to a man who owned 3 auto dealerships across the state. And that night, he was introducing us to his fiancée. Her name was Vanessa, and she hated me the moment she saw me. I felt it in the way her smile froze when my father said, "This is my daughter, Tara." She looked me up and down, slow, calculating. "Oh," she said lightly. "You didn't mention she still dresses like a college kid." The table laughed politely. I felt my stomach twist. My father didn't notice, he was too happy. He kept talking about how kind she was, how she'd brought light back into his life after my mom passed away 5 years earlier. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something about Vanessa felt wrong. Her eyes never smiled. They measured. They judged. And they waited. The dinner went smoothly at first. Too smoothly. Then came the gift ceremony. It was a tradition in my father's business circle. Each family member brought a symbolic gift for the new couple. I had spent weeks on mine. Not because I liked Vanessa, but because my father deserved happiness. So I made something personal. A framed collage, photos of him and my mother, his journey from his first garage to now, and in the center a handwritten note. "You taught me that love is built, not found. I hope this new chapter gives you the peace you deserve." My hands were shaking when I handed it to her. "This is from me," I said quietly. For a second she just stared at it. Then she laughed. Not softly. Not politely. A loud, mocking laugh that echoed in the hall. "Oh my God," she said. "You actually thought this was appropriate?" My face burned. What do you mean?" She turned the frame toward the crowd. Photos of his dead wife at our engagement dinner. Whispers spread instantly. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. I thought. "You thought wrong," she snapped. And then, she smashed it on the floor. Glass exploded everywhere. My chest felt like it had been punched. Before I could even react, she grabbed the next gift box beside her. A watch from my uncle. Smash. Then a porcelain vase from a business partner. Smash. Each one louder than the last. Each one deliberate. Each one directed straight at me. "You need to understand something," she said coldly, staring right into my eyes. "This family is changing. And you don't get to drag the past into my future." The room went dead silent. I couldn't breathe. My hands were trembling so badly, I had to grip the table to stay upright. And then, my father stood up. Slowly. His chair scraped loudly across the floor. And for the first time in my life, I saw rage on his face. Not anger. Not frustration. Pure, controlled, terrifying rage. And that's when I realized Vanessa had just made the biggest mistake of her life. But what none of us knew at that moment was that this was only the beginning. Because what she had already done behind our backs was far worse than anything she'd just broken. And when the truth came out, it wouldn't just shatter gifts. It would destroy lives. My father didn't shout. He didn't slam the table. He didn't even raise his voice. And somehow that made it worse. Because when he spoke, it came out quiet, tight, controlled. Pick them up. The entire room froze. Vanessa blinked, clearly not expecting resistance. What? You heard me, he said calmly. Pick them up. She laughed lightly, trying to recover her composure. Oh honey, don't be dramatic, it's just some cheap sentimental. Pick them up, he repeated, this time sharper. There was something in his tone that made even the wait staff stop moving. For a split second, I thought she might actually do it. But then her expression hardened, and she crossed her arms. No, she said. That one word landed like a slap. Silence swallowed the room. My father stared at her for a long time, his face slowly losing all warmth. And then he did something that hurt more than anything. He turned away from her and walked straight to me. Tara, he said softly. My throat tightened. I'm sorry. That was it. 2 words. But I could hear the shame in them. The guilt. The heartbreak. And it crushed me. Because I knew he wasn't apologizing just for the gifts. He was apologizing for bringing someone like her into our lives. The dinner ended early after that. Guests left awkwardly, whispering. Vanessa stormed upstairs to her suite, furious. And I sat alone in the empty hall, staring at broken glass scattered across the marble floor. Each shard reflected the chandelier light, like tiny pieces of something that used to be whole. I couldn't stop replaying her words. This family is changing, and you don't get to drag the past into my future. My chest ached. Was I really just an obstacle to her? A reminder she wanted erased? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the sound again. Smash, smash, smash. Over the next few weeks, things got worse. Subtly at first, then unmistakably. My father started working longer hours. He seemed distracted, tired, and Vanessa, she became colder toward me. Not openly cruel anymore. No, she switched tactics. Now it was smiles, polite tones, and calculated exclusion. Family meetings I wasn't told about. Business discussions I wasn't invited to. Even simple things like dinner plans happened without me. It was like I was slowly being erased. And the worst part, my father didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't want to. Then one afternoon, I accidentally overheard something that made my blood run cold. I had stopped by my father's office unannounced. The door to his private conference room was slightly open. And inside, Vanessa was talking. It's a liability risk. She was saying smoothly. My father sounded confused. What do you mean? Tara, she replied. My heart stopped. She's not involved in the company. She has no formal role, but legally she could claim significant inheritance rights. A pause. Then she continued. You need to protect yourself, protect us. My stomach twisted. Us. My father's voice sounded uneasy. She's my daughter. And she always will be, Vanessa said quickly. But that doesn't mean she should control your life's work. Silence. Then she delivered the line that shattered me. You should consider transferring majority ownership before the marriage. I felt like the floor had dropped beneath me. She wasn't just trying to push me out emotionally. She was trying to erase me financially. Legally. Permanently. I left before they could see me. But my hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't even start my car for 10 minutes. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, breathing hard. My mind spinning. Was this why she smashed the gifts? Because they represented history. Because they reminded my father of a life she wanted to replace. I felt sick. Betrayed. Powerless. For days I couldn't think straight. I tried talking to my father once. Carefully. But he brushed it off. She just wants stability, he said tiredly. You don't understand how complicated business marriages can be. Business marriages. The word strung. Was that all this was now? A transaction. That night, I cried for the first time since my mom died. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just silent tears, staring at the ceiling. Because I felt something slipping away. Not money. Not status. But my place in my father's life. And the worst part, I had no proof. No leverage. No way to stop her. Or so I thought. Because 2 weeks later, something happened that changed everything. It was small. Almost unnoticeable. But it cracked open the truth. I was visiting the office again when one of the accountants stopped me. Miss Fisher, he said hesitantly, there's something you should see. He handed me a folder. Inside were financial transfer drafts, ownership restructuring documents, and hidden among them was something that made my hands go ice cold. Vanessa's name, not just as future spouse, but as majority controlling partner, and attached to it was a timeline, a very specific one, all transfers scheduled, before the wedding, before the prenup finalization, before my father could legally reverse them. My heart started pounding. This wasn't just manipulation. This was a setup, a calculated takeover. And suddenly, the sound of smashing gifts made sense. She wasn't just humiliating me. She was testing boundaries, seeing how far she could push without consequences. And she thought she had already won. But as I sat there, staring at those documents, something inside me changed. The helplessness, the fear, the grief. It hardened into something else. Something cold. Something steady. For the first time since that night, I stopped feeling like a victim and started thinking like someone who had nothing left to lose. Because Vanessa had made one critical mistake. She thought I was weak. She thought I would cry, withdraw, disappear. She thought I didn't understand power. But she didn't know something about me. I was my father's daughter. I had grown up watching him build an empire from nothing. I knew patience. I knew strategy. And I knew exactly how to wait until the right moment to strike. And that night, as I lay awake staring into the darkness, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to warn her. I wasn't going to beg my father to choose between us. No, I was going to let her believe she was winning. Because the most satisfying revenge is the one they never see coming. And soon, I would discover something even more devastating. Something that turned this from a fight over inheritance into a battle for my father's entire life. I didn't confront her. That was the hardest part. Every instinct in my body screamed to storm into her office, throw those documents on the table, and demand an explanation. But I didn't. Because something my father once told me kept echoing in my head. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. So I stayed quiet. I smiled when I saw her. I played the role she expected, the wounded daughter slowly backing away. And she believed it. That was her first mistake. The second mistake. She underestimated how much I already knew about my father's business. Growing up, I used to sit beside him in his workshop office after school. He would let me flip through contracts while he worked. He'd explain things in simple terms: ownership structures, voting rights, asset transfers. He used to joke that I'd make a terrifying negotiator one day. At the time, I thought he was exaggerating, but now those memories became weapons. Because when I studied the documents the accountant gave me, I realized something critical. The transfers weren't illegal, but they depended on timing. Precise timing. And one specific condition: my father's signature on a final authorization agreement, scheduled for the week before the wedding. If that signature didn't happen, everything collapsed. The entire plan would fail. That's when I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to stop her directly. I was going to destroy her credibility. Completely. So thoroughly that my father would never trust her again. But first, I needed proof. Not suspicions. Not guesses. Real, undeniable proof. And that meant getting close to her. Closer than ever before. So I changed tactics. I became friendly. Not fake friendly. Warm friendly. I complimented her outfits. Asked about wedding planning. Offered to help organize events. At first she was suspicious. I could see it in the way her eyes narrowed slightly when I spoke. But gradually, she relaxed. Because she wanted to believe she had broken me. And every time she smiled at me, I smiled back, while quietly watching, listening, waiting. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. One afternoon, she invited me to join her at a bridal consultation meeting. We were sitting in a luxury showroom, flipping through fabric samples when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw something flicker across her face. Panic. Just for a second. Then she stood up quickly. "I need to take this," she said, and stepped outside. She left her handbag open on the chair. Her phone inside. Screen still glowing. I didn't move at first. My heart was pounding so loudly I could feel it in my throat. This was it. The moment. The line you can't uncross. If I looked, everything would change. If I didn't, she would win. My hands trembled. Then I picked up the phone. I wasn't expecting what I found. I thought I'd see business contacts. Maybe messages about the transfer. Instead, I found a thread labeled simply L***. And when I opened it, my stomach dropped. The messages weren't about business. They were about my father. Cold. Clinical. Cruel. He trusts me completely. Once the transfer is done, I'll finalize the separation. He won't even understand what happened. My hands started shaking. Separation. From who? From him. I kept scrolling. And then I saw the message that made my chest go numb. After the wedding, we can move forward with our real plans. The money will be secure. Attached to it was a photo of Vanessa kissing another man. The timestamp. 3 weeks ago. My vision blurred. This wasn't just manipulation. This wasn't just greed. She wasn't planning to build a life with my father. She was planning to use him. Take everything. And leave him. Just like that. My chest tightened with a sudden surge of rage, so strong it almost made me dizzy. For a moment I couldn't breathe. All I could see was my father's face. The way he smiled when he talked about her. The way he believed he had found love again. And this woman was treating him like a temporary bank account. I quickly took photos of everything. Every message. Every attachment. Every detail. Then I placed the phone back exactly where it had been. Just as she walked back in, her expression calm again. Perfect. Controlled. Sorry about that, she said smoothly. Wedding planners are so demanding. I smiled politely. But inside, something had already changed. The sadness, the helplessness, it was gone. In its place was something colder, clearer, like ice settling over water. Because now, this wasn't just about protecting myself. This was about protecting my father from a betrayal that would destroy him. That night I didn't sleep at all. I sat at my desk, staring at the photos on my laptop screen, replaying her words, her fake smiles, her calculated cruelty. And slowly a plan formed. Not impulsive, not emotional, precise, careful, devastating. Because I knew something important. People like Vanessa didn't fear confrontation. They feared exposure, especially public exposure. And soon, she was going to experience exactly what she had done to me, but on a scale she could never recover from. The perfect moment was already approaching. The wedding rehearsal dinner. 1 week before the ceremony. All the key business partners. All the family members. All the people whose opinions mattered most to her. And most importantly, the exact night she expected my father to sign the final transfer documents. She thought it would be her victory celebration. Instead, it would become her downfall. As I finalized the plan, I felt something unexpected. Not joy, not satisfaction, but a heavy, steady calm. Like standing before a storm you know you're about to unleash. Because revenge isn't loud. It isn't chaotic. The most powerful revenge is quiet, precise, and impossible to stop once it begins. And when that night finally arrived, Vanessa would learn something she never understood. You can break gifts. You can break trust. You can even break someone's heart. But if you push the wrong person too far, they won't shatter. They'll sharpen. Part 4: The Execution and Fallout. The night of the rehearsal dinner felt eerily familiar. Same grand hall. Same chandeliers. Same polished marble floors. And the same people who had watched me get humiliated weeks earlier. Only this time, I wasn't the one walking in with a trembling chest. Vanessa was glowing, dressed in a flawless ivory gown, laughing easily, holding my father's arm as if she already owned the world. She looked confident, untouchable, victorious, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her, because she had no idea what was about to happen. I could see the final transfer documents on the head table, neatly stacked, a gold pen resting on top, waiting for my father's signature, waiting for the exact moment her plan would be complete. She caught my eye across the room and smiled. That same cold, satisfied smile she'd worn the night she smashed my gift. It didn't hurt this time. It didn't shake me. Because tonight she was the one standing on glass. She just didn't know it yet. Dinner went smoothly at first. Laughter, champagne, speeches, and then came the moment she'd been waiting for. My father stood up, holding the document folder. "Tara," he said softly, "would you like to say something before we finalize everything?" The room turned toward me. I could feel dozens of eyes watching, waiting, judging. Weeks ago, this would have terrified me. But now, I felt completely calm, because I wasn't standing there as a daughter begging to be heard. I was standing there as someone holding the truth. I walked slowly to the front, every step echoing against the marble. I could hear my heartbeat, steady and controlled. And when I spoke, my voice didn't shake at all. I just want to share something, I said. Something about trust. The room grew quiet. Vanessa's smile tightened slightly. Just a little. Because something in my tone had changed. You see, I continued, trust is fragile. It takes years to build and only one moment to destroy. I paused, letting the silence stretch. And sometimes people don't break it quietly. Sometimes they smash it in front of everyone. Her face went pale. She understood the reference immediately. The room shifted uncomfortably. But I wasn't finished. I turned toward the large presentation screen at the front of the hall. I brought a small slideshow tonight, I said calmly. Just to make sure we're all celebrating with complete honesty. My father looked confused. Vanessa's eyes widened. No, she said sharply. Tara, this isn't appropriate. But it was already too late. Because I pressed the remote. And the first image appeared. It was a screenshot. Of her message. He trusts me completely. Gasps rippled through the room. Vanessa's face drained of color instantly. What is this? She snapped. Her voice cracking for the first time. I didn't respond. I just clicked again. Next image. Once the transfer is done, I'll finalize the separation. Now the room was dead silent. My father wasn't breathing. He was staring at the screen frozen. Vanessa lunged toward me. You invaded my privacy, she shouted. You're insane. But I kept clicking. Because the truth doesn't need permission. And then, the final image appeared. The photo of her kissing another man. Clear, undeniable, dated, recent. The sound that followed wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. The sound of something breaking inside my father. He didn't yell. He didn't move. He just stared at the screen. His face completely empty. Like someone had turned off the light behind his eyes. Vanessa started talking rapidly. Desperately. It's not what it looks like. You manipulated this. She's lying. But no one was listening anymore. Because truth has weight. And once it lands, nothing can lift it back up. Then my father slowly stepped forward. His voice when he spoke was barely above a whisper. Is it real? Vanessa's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. No answer came. And that silence said everything. He placed the transfer documents back on the table. Carefully. Precisely. Like they were something fragile. Then he turned to her. And said 4 words that ended everything. Leave now. No anger. No shouting. Just absolute finality. She tried one last time. Reached for his arm. But he stepped back. Like she was something poisonous. Security escorted her out within minutes. Her heels clicking rapidly against the marble floor. The same floor where she had once stood, smashing gifts with a smile. Only this time, everyone was watching her. Not with admiration, but with disgust. And the sound of those heels, fadding down the hallway, was the most satisfying sound I had ever heard. The room slowly emptied after that. People whispered, avoided eye contact. But none of that mattered. Because the only person I cared about was my father. He stayed seated long after everyone left, staring at nothing. I approached carefully, my heart aching. Because revenge can protect, but it can't undo pain. I'm sorry, I whispered. I didn't want to hurt you. He looked at me. And for the first time that night, his eyes softened. "You didn't hurt me," he said quietly. "You saved me." He took my hand, held it tightly. "I should have seen it," he admitted. "But I was so afraid of being alone again, I ignored everything." His voice broke slightly. And in that moment, I realized something important. Revenge isn't always about destroying someone. Sometimes it's about protecting what they tried to destroy. Weeks later, life slowly returned to normal. The transfer plans were cancelled. Vanessa disappeared completely. I never saw her again. But occasionally, I still remember the sound of breaking glass. And I think about how different things could have been. If I had stayed silent. If I had let her win. Because here's the truth I learned. Respect is not weakness. Kindness is not vulnerability. And being quiet doesn't mean you're powerless. Sometimes it just means you're waiting. Waiting for the exact moment when the truth will speak louder than anything you ever could. That night changed me. Not because I exposed someone, but because I learned something deeper. The people who try hardest to humiliate others are often the ones most afraid of being exposed themselves. And justice doesn't always come with shouting or revenge fantasies. Sometimes it comes quietly, in a single undeniable moment, when lies can no longer survive. If this story reminded you that standing up for yourself is never wrong, make sure you like the video. And if you've ever experienced betrayal, tell me in the comments how you handled it. Because sometimes the strongest revenge is simply making sure the truth is seen. And tonight, it finally was.